Welcome to our presentation on the present tense in Deutsch. If you haven't printed out the handout yet, make sure you print that out first. Now we know how to make the past tense in Deutsch. In a word like mache, gemacht, which means to make or to do, we use that past participle, gemacht. But to form the present tense, we're going to use the other form of the verb we see here, namely the infinitive, mache. Now, to form the present tense, we take the infinitive, in this case, mache. We drop that final e, producing mach, and then we add the following endings. The endings depend on the pronoun involved, whether it's an I or a you. So if it's ich, we don't add anything at all. It would be ich mach. If it's du, we add a st. If it's an a, c, or an s, a he, she, or it, we add t. If it's a ma, we add an e. If it's a dia, we add a t. And if it's a c, we add the sound, spelled e. Now, here are the endings, and you can see them there. Most people find it easier not to memorize the endings just on their own, though you can certainly do that. But most people find it easiest to memorize the endings combined onto a verb itself. So, if we do this with mache, for example, it would be ich mach, I make. Du machst, you make. She makes would be sie macht. We make would be ma mache. You make, you plural, would be dia macht. And they make is sie mache. And you can see how our forms here of the present tense are entirely regular, i.e., we take the infinitive, mache, we drop the e, and then we add the endings that go with each pronoun. Ich mach, du machst, macht. Like I say, most people will benefit from memorizing just the forms altogether, combined with a noun, such as ich mach, du machst, ACS macht, ma mache, dir macht, sie mache, and saying it again and again until it sticks in their head. For our purposes, of course, we've got our notes, and you're welcome to use our notes anytime you want to. The present tense, such as ich mach, can be translated in many different ways. For example, you could say I make, but you could also translate it as I am making, or I do make, or I'm going to make. In English, we have many different variations and nuances on our present tense. So when you say I make, it kind of means that you do it on a regular basis. Whereas if you say I am making, it means you're doing it right this very instant. If you say I do make, it kind of implies that you definitely do make this thing. You're emphasizing the fact that you do it. I'm going to make means that you're going to do it very soon. But all of these meanings are represented in just the present tense in Deutsch. Deutsch just says ich mach for all of these various nuances in English. For example, let's say you're going to say, I'm going to bring sauerkraut tomorrow. You're going to a family gathering, and you're going to bring the homemade sauerkraut that you made. In English, you might say, I'm going to, but in Deutsch, just the present tense. Bringe, gebracht is the verb bring, so you'd say, ich bring sauerkraut Maria, just the present tense. But you translate that as, I'm going to bring sauerkraut tomorrow. Same thing if you have a question. So for example, if you were to say, ask in English, are you working today? In Deutsch, you would just use the regular present tense. Schaffst heit? And remember in questions that the do often gets left out. You could say, schaffst du heit? Are you working today? Schaffst du heit? But the do often gets left out and just becomes schaffst heit? Are you working today? Okay, in our vocabulary in this lesson, we have very common verbs. Our first one is bringe gebracht. Remember, the first form is the infinitive. That's the one we use to form our present tense by dropping that final E. And the second form, gebracht, in our verbs is how you form that past tense. Bringe gebracht. Bringe gebracht. To find is the word finne gevonden. Try saying it after me to get a hang of the pronunciation. Finne gevonden. Finne gevonden. To learn is lerne gelernt. Lerne gelernt. Lerne gelernt. To take is nemme genomen. Nemme genomen. Nemme genomen. To say is saw, gsat. Remember that a G between vowels usually makes a sound y or w. Saw, gsat. A GS, the G often comes out a bit like a K at the start of those sounds. One more time. Saw, gsat. To work is schaffe, geschafft. Schaffe, geschafft. Schaffe, geschafft. To talk or to speak is schwätze, geschwätzt. Schwätze, geschwätzt. Schwätze, geschwätzt. To live someplace or to dwell someplace is wohnen, gewohnt. Wohnen, gewohnt. Wohnen, gewohnt. The word for barn is dashaia, shire. Remember, in nouns, our second form is our plural. So the singular is dashaia. The da tells you it's a masculine word. Dashaia, shire. Now we have a standard way of asking if you can speak Pennsylvania Dutch. It's kind of a humorous way of asking someone if they can speak Pennsylvania Dutch. It says, "Kannst du Micke vangen?" Can you catch flies? So you're not literally asking them if they can speak Dutch. Instead, you're asking them in Dutch if they can catch flies. Obviously, if the person understands Dutch, then they'll understand your question. But for some reason, this became a fairly standard humorous way of asking a person if they can speak Dutch. Kannst du Micke vangen? Kannst du Micke vangen? And the standard reply to that question, can you catch flies, is wanneer ze hokken blijven, which means when they stay still. Wanneer ze hokken blijven. Wanneer ze hokken blijven. Wanneer ze hokken blijven. That's it for this lesson. Macht's gut.